Hello. So I just wanted to come on and do a video just to explain a little bit about what I'm going to be up to this next month, because it's the NICU Awareness Month. And those of you who have kind of been around for a little while might know that I am a NICU mummy. So our daughter was on the neonatal intensive care unit for 105 days after having been born at 27 weeks as a bit of a shock. So I think that there's a lot that the neonatal community can benefit from having like a big awareness month. And one of the main things is just talking, just getting our stories out there, partly from a kind of selfish point of view. I think it's really healing to talk about it, but also we may have some tips or tricks or something that will help a mum or dad who are going through the journey at the moment. So with that in mind, I thought that I would try and focus this page a little bit more on our neonatal journey over the next month. And I'm going to be looking at my notes every now and then, so ignore me. But yeah, so I thought I would start with just like telling you about our journey, our story, and then other ideas I thought that might be useful would be just how we kind of coped on a day-to-day basis, our routine, what it's like to be a mum on the neonatal unit, what kind of helped, what didn't help. Then one of the things that I got requested was to chat about how do you go about from being a patient and being quite vulnerable to then being this little person's mum and having to be their advocate. And particularly when you've got lots of doctors and consultants and really senior nurses, it can be quite daunting to actually have to stand up for your baby who you've only really just met. So kind of how to be an advocate, I think that's a really good one to chat about. And then a little bit more personal, having a chat about post-traumatic stress and postnatal depression, postnatal anxiety, how it can just creep up on you, what it looks like on the neonatal unit, but also when you're home. And then I thought one of the things that we can definitely talk about is we had to bring our baby home on oxygen. So our daughter was on oxygen for 15 weeks at home. And what's that like? You know, are you a mum or dad who are about to have to take their baby home on oxygen? Do we have any kind of tips, or just generally letting you know what that's like? That might be useful. And then I think isn't really talked about is, or if it is, I couldn't find where it was talked about when we were coming home, is there's so much support and information from charities about what it's like to be a parent on the neonatal unit, but actually what's it like being a parent who's been in hospital for so long and then suddenly you're home? And I don't think there's enough support out there, and I don't think that there's enough knowledge about what it's like, because, you know, we haven't had a normal birth, a normal newborn period, a normal breastfeeding journey. We've been in hospital, and some of us become really quite kind of institutionalized, and then suddenly you're home and kind of expected to get on with things, and it's a massive shock, and a lot of us are still reeling from the trauma. And so you know, we're nearly 2 years down the line, and I think I've got some helpful thoughts about that, so I want to have a bit of a chat about that. And then the other thing is that with us anyway, and I think it's quite common in the premature population, is our baby, when she was home, really struggled with being easily overstimulated and having quite a lot of sensory problems. And it's literally 2 years down the line that we're beginning to kind of feel like we're maybe seeing the end of that. And again, when you Google kind of premature baby with stimulation problems or sensory problems, it just comes up with the well-known risk that these babies are at higher risk of things like autism and sensory deficits. But none of that really applies when they're 1 month old and can't cope with even having lights on or noise. And so there just isn't stuff out there. So I've done quite a lot of research into that. So again, I thought I'd focus on that. So hopefully that's going to be useful. I'd love to hear if there's anything that anyone else would love me to talk about. Like I said in one of my posts, having been a paediatrician and having spent some time as a neonatal doctor before then being a mum on the neonatal unit kind of gives me this weird double experience. And so I feel like I've got a little bit of extra experience if anybody does have any questions. So yeah, that's the introduction. I'm going to keep it as a separate video because I find whenever I see videos on people's Instagram that are like 10-20 minutes long, I just don't have the concentration for it. So here's your like 5-minute video about an introduction and what we're going to be doing this month, and then the next video is going to be all about our neonatal journey.